Hello guys, welcome back. I'm your friend InSexO. In the last video, we have talked about how to build the backend data structure for Twitter. Okay, it's just an illustration of how we should build the logic of our software. But the code I wrote in the last video won't help for the real application that we want to build. So in this video, what I'm going to do is to re-implement those logics that we made in the last video with the Flutter framework. So let's get into it. I guess at the first we need to create a class, and for this class I'm gonna call it my Twitter, just like we did in just like what we did in the last video. The only difference is we are doing it with the Dart programming language. You know, some people, they do not think that Dart is a programming language because it seems like people only use it to make a Flutter application. For example, if you go to the letter code and you scroll down for languages, for the Dart language, you will say that, well, it doesn't have the Dart option. Okay, let's get into the business. My Twitter. Yeah, this is all the code that we made. At the beginning, we may need to have we need to at least know the initiate function of the Flutter class, but I guess we probably do not need that. So let's just get into it. First, we need to have a last of messaging, and for this last at the beginning should be an empty last. We have to give it a len. Let's say all tweets. Perfect. Then do we need an ID? Yes, we need an ID. So I would say an integer of ID would be equal to 0 at the beginning. Then we need a few functions. How can you define a function? Well, you do it by simply say that's the return type, followed by the function name. That'll be post tweet. Do we need the self? Probably no, we don't need the self. Then it should be the messaging. Let's say message equal to messaging, and the self.id. Do we have the self? No. Do we have this? Yeah, we have this. So this ID plus equal to 1. Then self that's all traits. Can we add something to it? Yes, we can. We can add a value to it. Let's say all we want to do is add a message to it. Then we return the self.id. Okay, that's our first function. And as you know, it's not a very complex problem for us to convert the Python code to the Dart code. They are identically the same thing for now, if you ask me. Because the programming now just feels like my second feeling, or a direct feeling, or some kind of part of my body. You know, I do not fear about the programming because it's already part of my body and part of my life. What I really fear about is the complex theory behind those codes. You know, that could be the real difficult problem. But don't worry. As long as I'm still recording videos, I believe that in the following, let's say 3 or 5 years, we will conquer those problems one by one. So in the end, we will not be only solving programming problems. We will also be solving mathematics problems and real-life engineering problems, all those kinds of problems. Because in the end, we're not only a programmer, we are an engineer. Yeah, but anyway, let's solve this problem first. The second function that we will try to build is called replay trait, and for this function, it should has an integer of ID and a message. Oh my god, I don't know how to do a loop in the Flutter. So Flutter map or iterates last. Okay, here's how can you do it. It's just like a normal C++ program. They define index at the first equal to 0. Then you say for I less than this, that all traits the length. And for each, then you do something, and for each time, for each loop, the I will increment itself. You say if there's all traits with that index, we will probably need to change this message for a little bit. For example, now we also need an ID for it, so it should have an integer of ID, and also it should have a last of integer, and at the beginning it should be called children. We could say for each new traits, we say message that ID equal to this that ID. Then we add that message to our last, and also we return that ID by doing this message that ID. And in the reply trait function, we say this all traits I that ID if it's equal to the trait ID you reply to. Then we say this that all traits with that one that children that aid the message ID we have. Yeah, but before we do that, I just wanna do a post just like we did before in the Python. So there's an int variable called new ID. It's equal to this that post trait with the new message. Then we add that new ID to the corresponding trait. In the end, we only need one more function here. It's called get trait. It has to have a trait ID, and for this case, it's an integer. We still need to do a loop, and if that kind of ID equal to the trait ID, we return the corresponding trait. And of course, here the return type should be a message. Perfect. And for now, what we really need is to do a test, because we have successfully wrote the code, but we don't know if this code really works. So we need to do a test, but the problem is I don't know how to write test in the Flutter side. That could be a problem. Let's do a search and see if we can make such a thing. Okay, here's what we got. Here's an introduction of the Flutter test. It says that we should at least add a package called test in our dependencies. Then we need to create the test file under the test folder. So let me do it here. I just want to create. Oh, here we already have a test folder, and inside of the test folder we have a previewed test file. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know, but for now, I will try to create my own test. First we need to create a file called my Twitter test dart. Inside of this file, first we import the test packaging, then we import the package of ourselves. Let's say, how about the freedom itself? I don't know if we got such a thing. App. Yeah, how about we call it lab? I make me confusing. Let's just import it. How about a relative importance for us? We just need to import the storm, the last start. We just need to import that, and we want to use my tweet class. Alright, for now, let's say my tweet that all tweets at the beginning, we will expect the my tweet all tweets length equal to 0. Then if we add a message to it, let's say post tweet, should be a new message of okay, the data. Let's give it a written data 1 to 3, and the content. Okay, this should be enough for us. So for this one, it will return us an ID, but I don't care about that. Now if we do this test again, the length should be 1. And also we would expect my Twitter dot get tweet by give it let's say 1, and the content of that should be equal to high. And in the end we do a print. I just want to say if the print works inside of the test. My tweet that all tweets. Okay, that's cool. For now, all we want to do is to run this test. Yeah, how can we do that here? I just say a run button. If I click it, we get 0 passed. Why? Failed to load this file. Then how about we run it from here? We still get that kind of error. Run, start debugging. I guess we should somehow separate the code from the last to somewhere else. So how about we here I create a new folder called classes, and inside of that scene we create my twitter.dart file, and I do a copy for this code, and I'm gonna put it inside of this. Okay, then for our test, instead of import all those classes from this file, we import it from the classes my Twitter. Now we do the test again. Now as you can see, the test was successfully passed. We could not see the result of print. Okay, it seems like we probably couldn't just print out the whole last in the Flutter framework. It's kind of weird. If you are in the Go line, you could just print out a vector without any problem. But anyway, we have successfully built our class and did a test with it, and that's awesome. In the next video, I'm gonna show you how to render that kind of Twitter-like stuff to the Flutter framework front end to Twitter to the Flutter front end view, so that we could get a application that's runnable and usable for ourselves. And I hope that's the last video I make for this series, because it's just too long. I've been working on this this repository from the morning to the night. Okay, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.